My opponent presented her significance argument that zoos are unethical and cause harm to animals. They are too small fundamentally. Her inherency argument followed that there is little zoo regulation, and her final solvency argument was that there are rehabilitation centers or sanctuaries that can take the place of zoos. I will address each in the order that she presented them. First, her significance argument that zoos are unethical and bad. Zoos carry out important research into subjects like animal behavior, how to treat illnesses, and other things. This leads to a greater understanding of them and allows staff to ensure the animals have a full and happy life. Zoo.org says, in good zoos, this is achieved through extensive scientific research focusing on the assessment of animal welfare, including behavioral monitoring, physiological analysis such as sampling hormone concentrations. Animal welfare science is developing fast. We are using the science to improve our ability to keep our animals happy, healthy, and ensure they have a rich and full life. The world is always advancing, and many people care about our planet and the animals that live on it. Zoos have improved significantly over the past few years, and they will continue to improve and become great homes for some species that would otherwise struggle in the wild. TheAtlantic.com says, in Denmark, at Utopia, an architecture firm designed a 300-acre zoo without bars, fences, or glass. It is not a preserve, but it is an advancement in how people think of holding captive animals. In this design, it is not dangerous animals like the silverback gorilla that are in cages, it is the humans. Even now, we are seeing major advancements in the idea of zoos. A popular topic a few years ago was Harambe's death, and it sparked a huge public outcry. We all saw how much society has changed and the vast amounts of people who care deeply for this loss, but the solution is not to close down zoos. In an ideal world, Harambe would live peacefully in Central Africa. There would be no deforestation, no poachers, and no diseases transmitted by humans to our livestock. But in the real world, fewer than 900 mountain gorillas remain in the wild, and zoos are necessary and vital to our effort to conserve them and other endangered animals. Next, I will address her inherency argument that there is little regulation in zoos. There is a main federal law, the AWA, that protects animals. It doesn't have, harsh restrictions, but most of the restrictions are placed on zoos at the state level. According to ALDF.org, most animal protection laws are enacted and enforced at state level. Each of the 50 states now has a felony animal cruelty law on the books. Each state determines what constitutes cruelty and penalties for committing cruelty. Also, zoos, you can't just release animals into the wild. Actually, animals that grow up in captivity have a very low chance of survival in the wild, so releasing them isn't a solution and they would die. According to TheGuardian.com, apparently 33% of animals will survive in the wild, but the rest will die. And that's talking about apex predators. Finally, I will address her solvency argument. That rehabilitation centers can be used as a haven for these animals. Rehabilitation cannot be used in the same way as zoos can, and neither can sanctuaries. According to ThoughtCo.com, a sanctuary does not breed, buy, sell, or trade animals. A sanctuary also does not capture animals from the wild, but acquires only animals who can no longer survive in the wild. These might include injured wildlife or confiscated illegal exotic pets. So with that, there would be no benefits of, breeding to reintroduce them to the wild. And most importantly, zoos have saved countless animals from extinction. These other places don't allow for breeding, but this is what saves animals and why we can't get rid of zoos. Time.com says, Consider the Arabian oryx, a striking breed of antelope. The species was hunted to extinction in the wild nearly 4 decades ago, when the last wild Arabian oryx was shot and killed in 1792. The Phoenix Zoo helped lead the ensuing breeding and reintroduction programs, which ultimately birthed more than 200 calves from 9 individuals, and now there are about 1,000 in the wild. In conclusion, zoos are not the problem, it's the people. Zoos are not currently perfect, but they advance with every day. With the general public becoming more and more vocal about treating animals fairly, it is only a matter of time before zoos are forced to change drastically for the better of animals. Getting rid of them is not the solution. Zoos are vital to so many conservation efforts, and without them, all the animals that are not greatly reduced in population from a few years ago will slowly go out of existence with no human effort to right the wrongs we have done. Just keep in mind, according to zoo.org, our world is currently losing species at an unprecedented rate, experienced the worst loss of species since the extinction of dinosaurs. 21% of all known mammals are threatened with extinction, 30% of amphibians, 12% of birds, 28% of reptiles, 37% of freshwater fish, and 35% of invertebrates. And Time.com says, our world is currently in the midst of the 6th extinction. Today, zoos and aquariums are uniquely positioned to combat those evolving threats. Using robust and sophisticated breeding programs, these institutions fund and facilitate countless initiatives to propagate species and preserve genetic biodiversity, and then reintroduce critically endangered or extinct species into the wild.